So yeah, we're in the conversation now. Let's get past the intros and that weird awkwardness, but practice the intros.
Yes,
like flat out practice all that.
One, I like the intentionality of letting them know what it's about ahead of time, and then two, I would also say, and again, we've had this conversation so many times in the podcast, but lay out your intentions.
Yep.
You know, your intention is to make them better, to clear up some sort of discrepancy, whether it be results or not.
Yep.
But the more you do that, the less you'll have to make that statement. Buns, burgers, big ideas. How are you today, Eric?
It's just a beautiful day. It's good to be back in the studio. You can't get rid of me.
You're back again.
The 2 in a row.
Shady's back again. We
I thought it was Eric's back.
Eric's back. Yeah. Tell a friend.
Difficult conversations.
I don't want to have those.
I know it. They get easier. They do get easier. And today, you had a really interesting clip. I know that we're going to play, but these things never seem to go away. And I do want our audience and our listeners and each other to really understand, like, as a leader, the people side of the business is the hardest side of the business, right?
Leadership is a team sport.
Oh man, the buns, burgers, like that's like making a burger. I don't want to say it, but I'm gonna say it. It's easy, right? Like burgers and fries, like the actual, like what we do is easy, right? Yeah. Restaurants, the processes and the procedures and
thanks, Fred.
Yeah, right. Like the stuff, it's ABCD, right?
Science, it works.
But the people, man, people's always the wild card here. So how do we get better at it?
Practice, first of all. You know, it sounds weird practicing having hard conversations, but it's just like any other thing that you do. The more you do it, the better you will get. And you've mentioned that to me today. You're like, it's a little bit easier to have them because I've done them, right? And for me, who's pretty novice in having hard conversations, I still feel like probably most of our audience, what if they don't like me? What if I'm a big people pleaser? So that's something that I need to work on to get over. But I'm not going to be able to get over that unless I have those conversations.
And I know we're not going to dive into the whole, like, you know, culture and like building a better platform and the transparency. But like, I will just side note, right? Like the more open and honest and fair and transparent you are, right? Like as a leader with the results and with your people, the easier the difficult conversations become. But really, we're just going to kind of start from, hey, you're about to walk into a difficult conversation. How do we prepare? And what's a few key notes on that?
Yes, absolutely. So this clip is Ken Coleman. His podcast, they talked about having these hard conversations.
And I'd say for Ken Coleman, like he's got a lot of really good tidbits. So, you know, give a listen to him too. There's some good inspirational, like people type stuff in there. So,
absolutely. Let's listen and watch.
I was wondering if you have any practical tips for mentally preparing well in the days or even minutes leading up to a tough conversation.
I love that. So I actually developed a little journal entry that I have on my website that free. It's a difficult conversation guide. So it has like the person's name, who you're going to talk to, what you know about their own character, their ability, what kind of trigger areas, what are they sensitive to, what are they not sensitive to, how confident do you feel going into that conversation, and then you have a place where you kind of assert the frame, like we talked about. What do you want to talk about? How do you want it to end? What's the buy-in? Because the biggest takeaway really is that in the difficult conversations, you're just not sure where you want to end. You're really good at taking off. You just don't know how to land the plane. You say things like, I say all that to say, or what I mean to say is, when you've been talking for 15, 20 minutes. So very practical takeaway is, one, know where you want to leave, how you want to end the conversation. That's probably the biggest takeaway, is knowing where you want to end it. Two, you remove the difficult out of difficult conversation when you can prepare yourself for the unexpected opportunities. If you have in your mind that they have to say a certain thing and they don't, it's going to crash you and crumble you, because you were expecting them to agree. You were expecting them to say yes, 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 yes. And as soon as they say that thing that wasn't in your head, and you start to kind of crumble. So instead, leave room for that conversation, for them to disagree. Next would be, as I always say, have something to learn, something to prove. So if you can ask for, probably write down 3 questions that you can ask them and set the goal for the conversation. We often get into conversations to not know what the goal is, not know why we're in the room. And if you can just set a very low bar for yourself, what's one thing that I can do to make them feel heard? What's one thing I can do to show gratitude for this conversation? What's that one question I can ask that's going to make them feel like I'm listening to them? Those are the things that are going to get more out of the difficult conversation, that it's going to set you up for a very easy success.
All right. We're preparing.
We are.
We're going to be presenting. I know he said, like, you know, if you're days ahead of time or even minutes ahead of time, sometimes you only got like 2 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Like,
What are you going to do to prepare?
Yeah.
Because if you don't, though, what's going to happen? You're probably going to let your emotions run the conversation.
Yeah.
You know, it might get heated, and that's not the point of the conversation.
So difficult conversations are a part of the business, like, and almost any business, or at least the ones that I know of, unless
anyone with people.
anyone with people, right?
AI, you can't really have a difficult conversation with, but I suppose you could.
I would say, regardless, preparing yourself on and knowing how to have difficult conversations at any moment in time is probably a good takeaway, because you're going to walk in. I don't know if you've walked into a restaurant. Hey, Eric, I need to talk to you. Boom, you're in it, right? Like you have no time to prepare because they're coming right up to you and you're about to do this. So I think mentally preparing, when you can and when you do have the opportunity ahead of time, take the time.
Yes.
Literally practice with somebody. And I know it might sound funny. If I don't want to go to you, Riley, maybe I'm at least talking to a mirror at that point. And it might sound goofy.
Role plays can be, but it's practice.
Yeah.
And it's safe practice.
Yep.
Because you can say whatever the hell you want, and
It's true.
and there's no repercussions because it's practice. It's fake. It's fugazi.
Yeah.
So
saying it out loud, like I can mentally prepare in my head, right? And I'll ask myself, I'm like, okay, if we say this or they do that, this is what I'm going to say. But like sometimes to me, honestly, just saying it out loud helps. Right? Like even in the car, like as I'm driving, like, okay, how do I start it? Like even starting these conversations are weird. Like sometimes people will start, and I get it, they're trying to break the ice, so they'll go into like little itty bitty, like, how was your weekend? Like I'm going to say, like, how was your weekend? And now I'm going to just talk shit all over like your results. Like it's weird. It can be really weird to start.
It'd be awkward too, right?
Yeah.
I just like I'm picturing it in my head, like the pleasantries, and honestly, if they're a part of the culture, they probably know why you're there.
Yeah.
They probably know what the conversation's about.
Yeah.
But just picturing that, and then just, oh, by the way, your results suck.
Right?
Like it just seems weird.
It is.
So what would you do instead?
I don't know if I have the right answer, because I think every person and every situation is a little bit different. But you know, I think allowing the person to know, especially when there is time, hey, I want to meet with you and I want to discuss this. Right. And allowing them to understand what it is you want to discuss instead of
sideswiping them or something?
Yeah, right. Like catching them off guard.
Yeah.
Let's just say that, right? Like, so I want to walk in this conversation. I want to try not to catch people off guard, right? So to your point, being fair and transparent and open around the results and like what you've had, and we've had these conversations, but not all leaders are born that way, and we don't always do that. So you're going to catch people off guard, especially in the beginning.
Okay, I'm working it through in my head. So I just got off my shift and I'm at home making dinner with my family, and I look at my email, and it's a meeting from Eric, and it says we need to have a conversation about Q2 profit and loss.
Sure.
And I just read it and I'm like,
I'm probably going to call you.
Okay,
like
so you're going to call?
Me personally, especially in the beginning, I'm going to make a lot more like phone calls or in-person conversations. Like, hey, Riley, you know, I'd like to talk about this a little bit more tomorrow, right? Can we meet around this time to discuss these results?
So you're calling them to set up the meeting, not just an invite.
Like,
okay.
Because once again, if I text you something, like it's probably going to turn into a texting chain, right? If I email you, you're going to read it, and all of a sudden you're going to have a really bad night. And I don't want that for people. Right? Like, well, hey, I need to meet you at the office. Yeah. Right? Like already you're like, and I've had it. And I'm going to tell you, I've done it before. Right? So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm perfect, but I've done it before. And then they'll pick up the phone and they'll call me. Right? Like, well, why do you want to meet me? Or what's going on? Or whatever. And then all of a sudden now we have to get into the conversation anyways.
When you didn't want to have it over the phone.
Yeah.
For sure. So I like the transparency part though, but and I also like that you pointed out you're going to give them a call and get rid of that tone, you know, the misreading the tone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
But back to the video. So they were talking about obviously being prepared, which is where we're at now. but giving them space to actually like hear what you're saying during the conversation.
Yeah. So yeah, we're in the conversation now. Let's get past the intros and that weird awkwardness, but practice the intros.
Yes.
Like flat out practice all that.
One, I like the intentionality of letting them know what it's about ahead of time. And then two, I would also say, and again, we've had this conversation so many times in the podcast, but lay out your intentions.
Yep.
You know, your intention is to make them better, to clear up some sort of discrepancy, whether it be results or not.
Yep.
But the more you do that, the less you'll have to make that statement.
Well, and they said it, right? Where do you want to end, right? And I think going into the conversation, if you gave them a heads up, hey, this is the conversation we're going to, I want you as part of the team. We just need to get over this hurdle, right? Or whatever that maybe end looks like, right? Like, what is your goal? My goal is to make sure that you're a happy, pleasant employee that's producing results, right? Like, what is that? And I think it's okay to also share that with that person, right? Like, this conversation is going to be difficult, but here's what I'd like to see towards the end, right?
Absolutely.
And during this conversation, me as the person who's maybe the boss or that leader, I want to hear your feedback. As you're going into the conversation, I think we have to make sure that we're staying open, right? To whatever that is and being ready for them to say no.
Or something completely off the wall.
Oh, man, and I've been there.
I'm sure you have.
I've been there.
And you're just like sitting there like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Why did... There's one that I remember. It wasn't even a hard conversation. It always cracks me up, though. I was freaking 17 or something.
Yeah.
Is that Byron? The teacher night when that manager threw the towel bucket at you?
One of the worst ones. I'm glad that made an impression. But honestly, that made an impression on me, too. Yeah. Because I was just trying to talk
you were helping her.
Yeah.
And she just wasn't having it.
They flipped out.
Yeah, she wasn't in they weren't in a good space, I guess.
It just goes to show, Riley, that sometimes you're not going to control the other end of the table, regardless of what you think. But yeah, that was funny. The funniest things are going to happen. Like, you can look back on it and find it funny, but
that day you're probably not that funny. But, anyway.
But I would say that it's a perception thing. Like, you may know the results, you may know exactly what you're looking for, but their perception of what that looks like is going to be different than your perception. So that's where I think the openness comes in. Be open to their questions, be open to their statements, be open to them throwing you that curveball, because their reality is probably not a curveball for them, but it's a curveball to you.
For sure.
Yeah.
No, it's good. That's a good distinguishing fact there, because it's not only are you giving them space to just for them to be open, honest, and transparent, but also realign perceptions.
Yeah.
Because you're exactly right. Somebody who's in that leadership position coming to have a tough conversation about results probably hasn't worked in the restaurants and forever, right? Maybe they don't know the reality of it. And so them being able to share, hey, this is my reality, it's just a deeper level of understanding between the two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. And I think if your goal is to find common ground with that person, then why wouldn't you be open to what they have to say and take that into account? As you're having this conversation, make sure that you're listening to understand instead of just trying to passively aggressive, okay, fine, you can talk, but I'm not going to hear anything you're saying anyways, because there is a big difference there.
Well, that sounds like a boss, not a leader. Or like a manager, not a leader.
Right. Yeah.
Like if you're gonna just shut somebody down like that, no matter what. I mean, let them say their piece, but actually listen, because you might learn something.
Do you ever?
If not with them, but in general.
Yeah. Because I think sometimes we go in, especially in the beginning, right? And I still have to tell myself, I still have to coach and train myself on difficult conversations, because sometimes you go into, well, they're just going to make excuses. Right? Like, well, they're just going to have excuses for everything I tell them. So, I'm not really going to listen anyways. But
if you're listening for the right things, there's a solution in there somewhere.
So they talked about having gratitude during the clip. And I don't know how you maybe perceive that, but I think the gratitude comes from the person, like me. If I'm going to go into a difficult conversation with you, Riley, I'm gracious for the opportunity to have that conversation with you. And as you share that feedback, like, I have to have a little bit of gratitude and thankfulness for whatever those excuses are, or those roadblocks are, or the openness for you to be able to share with me, because that's going to create a deeper level of connection in the future.
Yep. Absolutely.
At least for me, that's where the gratitude part comes in, because it's like, well, thank you for sucking, right? Like that's not, I guess, where my head went.
Yeah.
So,
No, it's very true. Well, and back to the whole intentionality of these conversations. You're having a tough conversation because you have an end goal in mind, either for them to improve, get better, grow. So when you are in that mind space, then when you have those conversations and they are sharing, some of those roadblocks, it's not like these are excuses or, thanks for sucking. It's I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
And as leaders too, you can pull out more than what they're actually telling you. They might tell you an excuse, but there might be some underlying thing that you can see that then you can talk about and expand upon and get better.
Well, especially when you look at a couple different things, right? Behaviors and personality, difficult conversations. Like we had some breakfast speed the other day that was just horrendous, right? But as I dove deeper into the results, it ended up being where there was a computer glitch, right? Where all of a sudden the times were showing like 9,000 seconds. So of course we had a bad day, right? As an organization or, for that restaurant specifically. But if I didn't dig deeper into the results, I could have easily thought just my way was right and whatever they say is going to be an excuse and wrong, when really there was a lot more to the story. Because I'm going to tell you, sometimes we only get the surface level stuff.
Well, especially at this level too, though.
Yeah.
Like you said, we're not in the field or in the restaurants with them. Obviously, we're paying attention to results and we're business and we need to make some money, but taking that step and investigating it is what a leader would do instead of a manager. Again, the difference is apparent. Yeah,
as I say, depending on the conversation, maybe it is more of just that, hey, is it a difficult conversation yet? Or is it kind of fact gathering to figure out what's going on? Personality ones, to me, Riley, are still a lot more difficult, because a lot of it's not what you're saying, because I'm going to tell you a lot of our issues or our difficult conversations come to the fact that like the person who's like what they're saying is right, but how they're saying it is just so much wrong. It's just so wrong sometimes. The tone, the delivery, right? Like the intention is good. So I think just as a leader practicing those difficult conversations, it's okay, right? It's okay to make mistakes during those conversations too,
because you learn.
Yeah.
And if this conversation you're having isn't a perfect one, like odds are again that person who you're having the conversation with is aware on some level that this is a hard conversation. And
to that degree, I don't think people want you to fail, right? Like if I'm going into the conversation with you, like you want to know, I want to know, right? Like if my boss comes to me, like I want to know what I can do to improve. I might not take it the right way at first. I have gotten better, maybe, but I don't mind sometimes being critiqued, but it can come off maybe my face or my tone or my posture, right? Like sometimes, but I think we all can do better at that. I think sometimes having those difficult conversations, sometimes it just takes people a moment, right? Like, hey, we can take a break. We can come back tomorrow or tonight, or hey, go take 5 minutes and then come back, right?
I think you just said it perfectly, though. You're giving them the authority, or you're giving them the reins as far as their comfortability. Because if you don't give them that space to be like, I need a minute, I feel like then it's just gonna boil over, and they might do something, or you might do something, and it might just explode, and that's not what you want,
right? It's like trapping somebody in a corner, right? Like, what do you expect them to do? It's fight or flight,
exactly.
So, I think just preparing the conversations, allowing people to know where you're coming from with the right intent, and sharing that intent for the long term, right? But be clear about your goals. Be clear about what success looks like with the team, and these difficult conversations can become easier and easier every time. So,
and use them as a part of the solution. Odds are they don't want to fail either,
right? So, thank you for bringing up the clip. Like I said, Ken Coleman, lots of good stuff that he's kind of gone through wherever you listen, podcasts, TikToks, all that kind of stuff.
He's got some good stuff. But thanks for the conversation, sir. We will see you guys later. Listen, learn, lead. All right. See you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for joining us on Buns, Burgers, and Big Ideas. We hope today's episode inspired fresh ideas for your leadership journey. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and keep learning with us as we continue to explore leadership in the QSR world. Until next time, take care and lead well.